Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN2. I'm Jason Fitz. The guys were just talking about Mitchell Trubisky and the Chicago Bears. At some point, you have to let go of everything that we think and accept that this season is simply this season. You can no longer make a 5-year plan in the NFL, let's be honest. We're in a year where the Eagles and the Bears may miss the playoffs, and the Bills and Raiders might make them. And that shows you how much the NFL changes year in and year out. So at some point, you have to look at it and say, it doesn't matter how we got here. Where are we now, and how do we move forward? That's the question the Bears are going to have to answer. And the quicker that they can answer that question, the better. Ultimately, it's either the coach or it's the quarterback. But you know at this point that it is not working. Offensively, they are not getting the production that they need, and they're not able to rely on their defense to bail them out this year. So the question becomes, now that you're 3 games out of the playoffs and you can start to look towards next year, what is next? The Bears don't have a first-round draft pick to draft a quarterback for the future. They're going to have to figure out how to get a free agent. This is why you'll see the free agent crop of quarterbacks. Teams that other players that other teams have given up on, you'll find a market for them because there are teams like the Bears that feel like they are one quarterback away from whatever they need to be great. That's going to be the biggest question they have to answer right now.
Golic and Wingo and Mercedes-Benz Vans want to send you to the College Football Playoff National Championship game in New Orleans. Your next chance to win happens now.
Right now.
Go to ESPNradio.com for official contest rules.
It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN2. I'm Jason Fitz. It's caught up on some of what is trending from around the world of sports, and it starts with the Lakers. Lakers win 122-101, but it was really about the celebrities sitting courtside. That's right, we could talk about the Lakers all day long, but at the end of the day, last time I checked, for some reason, whenever LeBron's in the building, that's all anybody wants to talk about. Through it all, LeBron James, 33 points, 12 boards. Kyle Kuzma rounded back into form, 17 points in 26 minutes off the bench. Trey Young, still great, but not great enough. The Lakers continue to be on their tear. The Lakers win 122-101. Sound effect works this time. Congrats to Kyle Busch. Won the season finale at the Homestead Miami Speedway. He snaps a 21-race losing streak. He beat Joe Gibbs' teammates, and in the process, he gets his second Cup Series championship. That's Joe Gibbs Racing 5th, so he becomes the 16th driver in NASCAR history to win multiple championships and one of only 5 to win titles in both the Cup Series and the second-tier Xfinity Series. Congratulations to Kyle Busch. And last on the list, for the first time in 5 years, an NFL team won after trailing by 20 or more after 2 quarters. The Vikings offense won a historic tear in the second half. They become the first team in the last 40 years to score a touchdown on every second half possession and win after trailing by 20. They just spotted the Broncos' a lead to keep it interesting. Vikings beat the Broncos 33-27 in a heartbreaker for Denver. That's what's trending, gentlemen.
All right, Fitzy, thanks very much. By the way, I'm making an executive decision today.
Okay.
I'm just going to play this as often as possible just because I love hearing it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't hear it, once again, here's Ravens running back Mark Ingram introducing Lamar Jackson in the postgame press conference.
Now, I would just like to introduce y'all to the man, the myth, the legend, the MVP front runner. If anybody else got to say something different about that, then come see me. I'm right here in Bmore outside the bank. If you got an issue with that, come see me. I'm about that. Big trust. Woo woo. Lamar Jackson in the flesh. Yes, sir. Big trust. New Era 8 apparel.
I cannot hear that enough. I cannot hear it enough. It's in the video. You should see Mark Ingram's eyes line up when he says, if you have something to say about that, come see me.
Very few people in the NFL can cut wrestling promos the way that Mark Ingram can. Also, big shout out to the hero in the crowd co-signing all that behavior with various whoops and whats.
Yeah. Listen,
that is how you support your friends.
I can't hear that sound enough today. I'm
if
sorry.
you were my friend and you were not supporting me the way Mark Ingram supports Lamar Jackson, we are no longer friends.
Whoop, whoop. Yeah, whoop, whoop. Big trust. We got big trust that you're going to want to stick around for the winning word that's coming up in just a few minutes. Big chance to come with us. Beignets for days.
Here we go. We are in our second week. We had last week. We'll get a winner from last week, and now we have one more week, this full week.
Yup.
The winning word each day, at least a couple times a day, sometimes 4 times a day.
Trust.
For your chance to win a trip with us to the 2020 College Football Playoff National Championship
Come
game.
see me.
January 13th in New Orleans, thanks to our friends at Mercedes-Benz Vans. You're going to get 3 nights hotel accommodation, private welcome reception, VIP seating at our show, and then basically you're an ESPN VIP for the entire time there. You're going to be in the ESPN compound. You're going to be at the ESPN tailgate party, all as a VIP, and you have a couple tickets to the game as well. And you're in New Orleans.
Yep.
So seriously.
What?
All you got to do is look for the word in a couple of minutes, text it to a number I'm going to give you. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all
simple.
you have to do, and
Big
you are
trust.
entered.
Whoop.
It'll be great. And by the way, you're just going to hear the Mark Ingram sound probably 4 or 5 more times.
Actually, speaking of a guy who knows all about New Orleans, like of New Orleans Saints fan, Mark Ingram would tell you how great. We could probably get Mark Ingram to cut one of those about coming and doing this all in the city of New Orleans.
Hey, he's a friend of the show. He's been on with us
that?
earlier this year.
Mark,
so
baby,
we have a
call
producer.
us.
His name is Evan. Produce that. We'll work on that.
All right,
Thanks.
the
We
word coming
appreciate
up
that.
in just a few minutes.
But first, let's do the thing we do called 4 Down.
First down.
And speaking of the game in which Mark Ingram gave big trust, we have no trust in the ability to call pass interference when it wasn't called on the field. If you didn't see it in the first quarter on a 4th and 2, Lamar Jackson threw a ball to DeAndre Hopkins in the right corner of the end zone. That looked like it was going to be a touchdown, except that Marlon Humphrey decided to tackle DeAndre Hopkins in the end zone before the ball got there. Bill O'Brien decided to challenge it, which, by the way, why? What are you doing? And they looked at it and said, yeah, we didn't see any pass interference here. This was just as bad as the Kobe Roman play or Roby Coleman play in the NFC Championship game that instituted this rule that no one follows in the first place.
And what's amazing is 2 times yesterday it actually got reversed in favor
of this one, by the way.
In favor of the Jets and in favor of the Cardinals. Listen, I said this before. It was a knee-jerk reaction. I never would have put this rule in. And when I brought this up before, I think I was rebuked by you guys that say if you're going to go to replay, then you have to rule the rule. You have to go by the rule. If you hit a man before the ball gets there, it is a foul. It's not subjective in replay of was it egregious enough. If you use replay and it's a foul, it's a foul. That was a foul, and they didn't call it. Where they're going to and the people, Al Riveron and the group in New York that are making some of these decisions, you guys are blowing it. And quite honestly, it gets embarrassing to the league when you do it.
I guess that's the thing is I understand we were on opposite sides of the rule thing, but this one was clear and obvious.
It was clear and bleeping obvious.
That was the thing is it's clear and obvious. It's in one of the biggest games of the day. You thought all the incentive is there. So you know what it's going to take now because, again, this has been, in my mind, what looks like a clear effort on the part of the people in New York to not call these things and to fly in face of this rule that maybe they didn't like or whatever it is. It's going to take it happening to a Patriot in a playoff game. Like, that's what it's going to take for someone to make a change in all this. We know how this all works. We know why it got changed in the first place.
Whoa. This can't happen to Tommy.
You're telling me? You're telling me. By the way, I came up with 3 other rules that the NFL could put in and never enforce because it'd be the same thing. Every time Bill Belichick smiles in a game, your team gets 4 points. Mm-hmm. Every time Patrick Mahomes throws for 400 yards, Chiefs get an extra bye week. And every time Zeke does the feed me motion, you add 10 yards to his rushing total. You might as well just put those rules in because you're never going to enforce them either.
It's just bad. But then again, after this, they did it twice.
Yeah.
They overturned 2 of them.
Because they were watching the reaction.
It's just bad.
They really undercut my point because I was going to say one other part of the NFL and any part of that ecosystem are people allowed to just wantonly disregard rules and not get fined or keep their job.
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't happen anywhere else. Like, if they institute a rule on the offensive line and I don't like to follow it, I'm either getting fined, flagged, or fired.
Was it last year or 2 years ago? They fired an official. In the middle of the season, fired an official.
Whoop.
So, I mean, it makes 0 sense to me. It's ridiculous. I could keep going, but you'd have to beat me out.
Totally agree. Well, yeah, I would too. So we'll move on to second down.
Second down.
Wow. This took an ugly turn Saturday. Tua Tagovailoa, the Alabama quarterback, is done for the year. He's having hip surgery today to deal with a broken hip he suffered at the end of the first half in their blowout win over Mississippi State. He was airlifted out, and then he's in Houston today having the surgery. And there are a lot of things that are going on here, but most importantly, we hope that eventually Tua is going to be okay.
Without question. There are a lot of questions that go forward. First and foremost, you hope it's a successful surgery and the rehab goes how it's supposed to and he can get back on the field, or just we all think he's going to get back on the field. To why it happened, I have 0 issue with Nick Saban keeping him in the game. 0 issue. At the end of the half, 2-minute drill, wanted to run the 2-minute drill, and they left him in and he got hurt on it. So there's no criticism from me on that side of it one bit. That's from the game side. Obviously, there's still more to talk about with the injury and where it goes. But from that side, that's the first thing people were criticizing. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, because again, you look at a later game when Ole Miss and LSU were playing. LSU was up 28-0, and they didn't pull Joe Burrow.
Correct.
I've been.
And Mississippi started making a little bit of a comeback.
Well, and I guess that's the thing is Mississippi State and Mississippi aren't like Arkansas. They're not an FCS team. Like, in theory, that could be a game, especially the way Alabama's defense has played this year. And so you never really know. Like, I've been in plenty of games like that. We're not going to take the starters out in the first half. So regardless, that's not really the issue at play here.
And there's way more to talk about with this. About does he go back next year to Alabama? Does he still go in the draft?
What do kids do going forward, too?
Two things on this. They're opposite ends of the spectrum. You say to yourself, okay, hip break, hip displacement. C.J. Mosley was an Alabama linebacker who had the surgery, came back, was a first-round draft pick, and just got buku dollars in free agency to go to the Jets. That's a positive. The downside is we don't know what the artery damage is to that hip, which feeds blood vessels to the bone. And if that's injured, it can cause something called avascular necrosis or bone death. That's what ended Bo Jackson's football career. So you hope that it's gone the C.J. Mosley side and not the Bo Jackson side.
I will be very interested because
surgery is today.
Yeah, that surgery is today. I'll be very interested in how this affects what the next kid in this situation is.
Yeah.
Because if all of a sudden maybe your team's out of contention, do we start to see that thing we always talked about, kids sitting a season, sitting out meaningful games in the regular season?
What I'm interested is at some point hearing from Stefania Bell, because she'll be able to break this all down for us.
We'll have that for you a little bit later. We continue on third down. It was the workout that wasn't and then was, and it was heard around the world. For the record, Colin Kaepernick did work out in front of some NFL people on Saturday, just at a different place at his time in choosing than the one the NFL had set up where 25 teams were set to be there and watch him work out. We've talked about this a lot. A major lack of trust on Colin's side against the NFL and a major rush of haste on the NFL side led to all
Without question. I mean, we've been through this. Everybody's going to be going through it again today. To not have all the T's crossed and I's dotted throughout this, it was just a bad move. And I put a lot of that on the NFL of how hastily they threw this thing together, not have it all squared away, meeting on both sides to get it done. And then on Colin Kaepernick's side, Colin did what he felt he needed to do given the situation. And it proved out that it's going to – now, I don't know what we all thought. He could have had a shot if he was maybe thrown in front of 25 teams. He didn't think it was going to work that way unless there was transparency. Bottom line is the workout was okay. What he said afterward, I'm sure people just shook their head at, and he's not going to get a job in the NFL. And if that's what he wanted out of this thing, then he failed, and it's going to be the end for Colin Kaepernick. Yeah. Whether you want to say he failed, or I'm sure there people on his side are going to say, oh, it's the NFL that failed. They didn't give him a fair shot. However you want to break it down, he's not playing in the NFL.
This, in my mind, was like a relationship.
Yes.
This was a couple trying to get back together after a history of cheating and a lot of things that went on. Because now everyone got back together, and when a couple of those old issues start to come, it hits that nerve quick, and everyone starts making decisions really hastily and probably not in the best interest of the end goal of making something right in this situation. And we saw both sides operate in a way that reeked of an emotional response.
Totally agree. And before we get to four downs, we're calling a timeout, or fourth down. We're calling a timeout, ladies and gentlemen, because, Cliff, we got business.
Beignets for days.
Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, your first chance to come with us with the winning word to the College Football Playoff National Championship game in New Orleans.
All right, get that. You're texting it to the number 777-000. So you're texting that number. You're texting the word of the day, which is
Superdome.
Superdome. That's where the game is going to be played because the national championship game is in New Orleans. And thanks to our friends at Mercedes-Benz Vans, you have a chance to come with us and be treated better than us, quite honestly, on this trip. Again, all brought to you by the new gas-powered Sprinter from Mercedes-Benz Vans. So the word is Superdome. Text it to 777-000. You have until 1 o'clock today to get your entry in. One entry per day. We keep going the rest of the week till we get one more winner.
And we have one more chance today, but the winning word is Superdome. Get those out there right now. What's the number again?
777-000.
All right, text that winning word to that number, and you have a chance to come be with us in New Orleans for the College Football Playoff National Championship game.
Whoop.
And after that timeout, let's finish up.
Fourth down.
Well, the game between Arizona and San Francisco was in San Francisco, but it's one of two games that was felt in the desert, if you know what I mean. And I think you do, as we had some things happen in a couple of games that really, really turned the tide, for lack of a better term. Safety Marcus Williams put an exclamation point on a strong defensive performance, returning the third of New Orleans' 4 interceptions for a touchdown to put the Saints up 34-17 with over 5 minutes remaining. It was Williams' first career TD. The over-under, 51 at Caesars. The TD made the total 51. Mm-hmm. And then...
Some people had it at 50.5.
Yeah, there you go. And then there's what happened in San Francisco.
Yeah, so there's all of you out there that understand the whole betting thing. Jeff Davis, who is the director of trading for Caesars, said, we needed the Cardinals to lose by more than 10 since no parlays lost and Arizona backers at more than 10 didn't lose. San Francisco by 4 was no good, but by 10 was worse. We needed the 49ers by 11 or more, so they got smacked around a little bit.
And what happened there, the game was essentially over.
Yes, it was.
It was a 4-point game, and then the Cardinals tried the old lateral play, and the ball bounced around, and they took it in for the touchdown. And in a new rule that started last year,
exactly right.
You don't have to kick the extra point anymore like you used to.
So it could have been to 11.
It could have been to 11, but because of the new rule change, Vegas took it on the chin, man. Took it on the chin.
It is a good thing that's where I didn't put my 10 grand this week. Wow.
Where did you put your 10 grand?
You don't need to know.
That's a separate issue. All right, coming up, 2 quarterbacks whose relationship status with the NFL is complicated, and we'll get to all of that after the SportsCenter update.
A bunch of tight ends and Cooper Kupp to that side, leading the way for Gurley, who gets the handoff and hammers it in. Touchdown, Todd Gurley. Touchdown, LA.
ESPN LA 710 on the call. SportsCenter on Golic and Wingo. I'm Jason Fitz. The Rams finally got their stud running back going under the lights last night. Todd Gurley notched season highs in touches and scrimmage yards and brought to a 17-7 win for the 6-4 Rams. Bears quarterback Mitchell Trubisky was pulled in the fourth quarter after a hip injury worsened throughout the game. The Bears fell to 4-6. Let's move over to the NBA and hoops. Kobe Bryant sitting courtside, just enjoying the view. LeBron James and the Lakers beat Trey Young and the Hawks 122-101. LeBron finished with 33 points and 12 assists. That marks his 5th straight game with at least 10 assists. That's tied for the longest streak in his career. At 11-2, the Lakers own the best record in the NBA. Let's move back over to the NFL. Week 11, wrapping up tonight, the Chiefs and Chargers on Monday Night Football at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, live on ESPN from Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. Patrick Mahomes had 6 touchdown passes his last time out on Monday Night Football. That's good. This time, first place is on the line in the AFC West. The Chiefs will remain in first with the win, while the, can we say it? If the Chargers win, can we say it? Oh, yeah, we can say it. The Raiders, my beloved Raiders, would be in first place with the Chargers' victory.
And that is SportsCenter, brought to you by Me Paying Attention, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Don't let the big talk from big wireless carriers fool you. Straight Talk Wireless runs on the same 4G LTE networks for up to half the cost. Get the unlimited plan with up to 25 gigs of high-speed data, then 2G, for just $45 a month. No contract. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart.
Let's go no huddle on Golic and Wingo. The Ravens have this new Sunday tradition of beating the shit out of teams we think are really good. The battle of Lamar versus Deshaun was simple.
Anything you can do, I can do better.
The Ravens win 41-7. It was a horrifying first half for the Vikings in Minnesota, where they were down 20 and punted on the first 4 possessions. But a 3-touchdown fourth quarter proved when it comes to 20-point deficits at the half in the last 5 years, there were 99 problems, but the Vikes ain't one.
Hit me.
Vikings 27, Broncos 23.
All right, Golic and Wingo here with you as we're hashing out some fantasy information. I'm not feeling great about it. We'll get to that a little later. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Delighted to be joined in studio by Mike Tannenbaum, our NFL front office insider, giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Let's deal with the first and foremost thing, the thing that didn't and then did happen Saturday, the Colin Kaepernick workout. Look, take out everything about trust and all this kind of stuff. Take out all those issues. As a front office insider, at the end of the day, the way it all played out, is Colin Kaepernick more likely to or more likely not to be signed now?
Yeah, I would say probably more likely not to be, which is really disappointing because it was a great opportunity. I think both sides, candidly, could have handled it better.
Without question.
But if I'm Colin Kaepernick, I don't know why I don't do both. I go to the workout in Atlanta. The NFL has this internal system to capture video. It could have been transmitted to all 32 teams, and within 72 hours, some GM or head coach could have seen it and had him come in for a subsequent visit tomorrow, which is the normal day to visit. And if for whatever reason, between you, your representatives, Nike, whoever, you don't feel like there was complete transparency, go have a subsequent workout 40 minutes down the road. And candidly, the other thing I would do if I was him, I'd have a workout every Tuesday. Maybe I'd fly around and find the highest profile wide receiver. Maybe one week it's Antonio Brown, and show the world how good I am and look at my abilities.
Interesting thought. When the last break, Mike, I'll say you just brought that up. You said, why not do that workout and then on Tuesday have your own workout? It's as you said, it could have been handled on both sides a lot better. No doubt about it. But again, as we are where we are, the job of his agent now, do you think, will he be actively calling teams, or will they just sit and wait for a call? How is this going to work from the management and agent standpoint?
Yeah, Mike, absolutely. He should be scouring right now. And there's really two different buckets. One is to try to sign right now. And clearly he is one of the 64 best quarterbacks on the planet.
It's not debatable.
Not even close. Like, to me, the best team, the most aligned team is Chicago.
Right.
I think that offense is tailor-made. He's way better than Chase Daniel, and arguably even maybe better than Mitch Trubisky. But that's one bucket. And for whatever reason, if that doesn't work out, the other bucket, guys, is you could sign future free agents, meaning you sign them at the end of the year. They're not eligible to play.
Right.
And now they're part of your offseason program for 2020. And when I ran teams, I always look at that as opportunities, guys coming off of injuries, drug suspensions, whatever it may be. And he's your perfect guy to sign as a future free agent. I get him in. We sit down. We talk about all your goals, both on the field, off the field, all your social injustice initiatives that we could work very closely with you on, what you want to accomplish as a football player, your economic goals, and say, look, let's start fresh in 2020, but you're clearly one of the 64 best quarterbacks on this planet, and let's go.
Mike Tannenbaum joining us in studio, giving us a Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less, only at Walmart. See, with that in mind, to me, Mike, this was never about the workout. This was about what was going to happen after the workout and what he was going to say. And the way this happened, I think, just made everyone who wanted to be, see, I told you, they have their ammunition now.
No, that's right. And look, as an employer, you still want to sit down with him and interview him, ask him. Some of the open-ended questions is, what have you been up to? Like, what keeps you up at night? What are your goals? Where do you feel like your career has been unfulfilled? I want to hear that you still have a burning desire to be a champion. And candidly, one of the things we used to do in Miami because of the climate is the worst thing to do is to sign a player on a Tuesday and have him have a soft tissue injury on a Wednesday or Thursday. We would give him a conditioning run. We need to know that you're still in world-class shape, not some scripted workout, and you have a chance to work out with Joe Philbin, Hugh Jackson, two very credible NFL coaches to go through a detailed route tree. That was a great opportunity for him. And again, if I'm his agent, I'm doing that, and I'm going to evaluate that, and then I'm going to look for the next best opportunity. I have nothing to hide. I know how talented I am.
Talking to Mike Tannenbaum with us, our ESPN front office insider here in studio on Golic and Wingo. And so coming into this segment, we were sitting here during the break, and you go, man, an interesting question is to think who has a better chance of taking an NFL stab next year, Colin Kaepernick or Tua Tagovailoa, based on what we saw this week, and obviously the unfortunate injury to Tua, what went on with his hip, and now what the decision-making process looks like going forward. And I heard you on the radio yesterday talking about what are some of Tua's options as you see them now going into next year.
Guys, I think this is a fascinating, it's obviously a tragic, unfortunate situation, but moving it forward now, we're going to be talking about this through April because the permutations to me are truly historic because you could declare for the draft and then truly evaluate how that goes. To me, this lines up so well for New England because if I'm New England, I take them at the bottom of the first round.
It was my first thought. That's terrifying.
Yeah. And I say, look, you're not playing for 1 year, maybe two, because we're going to make sure that you're 1,000% healthy, not just 99%. Unfortunately, I have a lot of history with this injury. Orthopedic surgeons hate this injury because that part of the hip, that socket, is not well vascularized, and the recovery is very hard to predict. We all know football well. We live in a world of we want certainty. Correct. ACL, it's X. Achilles, it's Y. They don't know on this injury. It's very body specific because the blood supply is so poor. That's not to say he can't make a full recovery. However, if I'm Tua and I'm drafted in the middle of the first round by, I'm making this up, the Cincinnati Bengals, I may say, you know what? I have world-class care. I have more leverage than John Elway. I have more leverage than Eli Manning. I'm going to rehab myself for a year, and I'll go back into the draft.
Is there any part of you, if Tua called you or the family called you, that you would say go back to Alabama for
Mike,
your senior year?
Absolutely. I consider that as well because, again, get world-class care. I may not play. We'll deal with that a year from now. Obviously, that could affect my legacy even more. So I think all options are on the table. But clearly, I think the one that's more compelling is going into the draft and then reassessing. Now, he's actually better off being drafted in the second round because that's a 4-year contract.
Right. Just gets less money.
Initially gets less money, which would probably be backfilled anyway by Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. Yeah. And then he's 1 year quicker to gain the big bite of the apple on the second contract. So we have a long way to go. Obviously, it's tragic. You feel terrible for him, Alabama. But by the time we get to April, this will be a national drama because you just don't know which way it's going to go.
Listen, the Tua Tagovailoa situation is proof that not everybody has the same options coming in and out of the draft. Proof is brought to you by Pennzoil. Prep your engine for winter. With Pennzoil synthetic motor oil, the first motor oil made from natural gas, not crude oil. The proof is in the Pennzoil. Don't go anywhere. We got a lot more we want to talk to you about, including how much trust they have in Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, and a name for the MVP that we haven't had in that discussion yet that I think we need to start talking about. We'll get to all of that after this.
All right, AutoZone has the free services you need to help you get back on the road, like their free AutoZone Fix Finder service. Not only identifies the check engine light code, but also helps identify the most likely cause of the check engine light being on. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service analyzes your specific car info, code, and mileage together to help identify the most likely cause of your check engine light being on. With over 5,600 locations nationwide, AutoZone is here to help you save time and money with their free services. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions do apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone. Back after this, Golic and Wingo.
Bay Saints wideout Michael Thomas was getting big boy fed.
Beignets for days.
114 yards and a touchdown, but it was the Saints defense that said,
"It's not goodbye. See you later."
When Marcus Williams returned an interception, 55 yards for the score. Saints go marching all over the Buccaneers, 34-17. Formerly of House Starkville, Dakota.
Long may he reign!
Prescott and his cavalry claimed victory in the Lions' house, riding 3 touchdowns through the air. Cowboys 35, Lions 27.
All right, Golic and Wingo here. Glad you're with us. ESPN Radio, ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here. Delighted to have in an extended dance mix version of his weekly Monday visit our NFL front office insider Mike Tannenbaum. So there's a lot to get to here. Let's first and foremost start with this idea that we sort of brought up this morning. Right now, are the Baltimore Ravens the best team in football?
It's hard to argue now. I would say Seattle. Now, Baltimore went to Seattle and beat them.
Yeah,
but
they
did. But and Lamar, that arguably was his worst game. I'm really surprised how well Baltimore's playing on defense. They had 7 sacks yesterday. So if they get that sort of performance from that side of the ball, I think they're so hard to prepare on offense because whatever you take away, they have other ways to attack you.
Right.
Their tight ends are so productive, and they can attack you horizontally and then obviously vertically with Marquise Brown. And Lamar Jackson is so dynamic and such a prolific playmaker right now, they are going to be really hard to beat.
It's interesting. I think they had going into the game yesterday, they had the most receiving yards by a group of tight ends in the NFL and the fewest receiving yards by a group of wide receivers in the NFL.
So
you know how they run their offense.
Yeah. Tight end and run the ball. 263 yards rushing yesterday. They're rushing it like a college team. Did you see this where were you when Lamar came into the league?
Yeah, we had similar concerns to everybody else about like how accurate he would be consistently. We were very intrigued by him. He was a local guy for us down in Miami. But I think what really applies to Lamar Jackson is the axiom of the tape sets the floor and the character sets the ceiling. This is clearly a guy that loves football and has worked on the areas he needed to. And to his credit, he's exceeded expectations. And the 3 things that Eric DeCosta, the Baltimore Ravens GM, and John Harbaugh, the head coach, think about when they go to bed at night is injuries, injuries, and injuries. Because if he stays healthy, they are going to be so hard to beat. Because, again, you may bottle him up for part of the game, but he'll make the 1 or 2 plays either with his arm or his feet to change the game. And you go back to opening day, that's when Marquise Brown was his healthiest, their rookie wide receiver from Oklahoma. Nobody, you talk to Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, their fundamentals as DB coaches is rule number 1, don't get the ball thrown over your head. So the spacing that player can create just along in terms of the vertical aspect of their game, they just can attack you from all different aspects of the field. And Trey, you talked about the production of the tight ends. They truly check every box offensively.
It's amazing. In my mind, watching Lamar Jackson right now is like when LeBron James starts hitting threes. Like the minute Lamar Jackson threads a couple of those over the middle to Andrews or Hollywood Brown, all of a sudden, like you said, it changes the way you've got to space the floor, and now you're dead in the water. Now he can do all the things he actually wants to do, which is gash you in those spots. So we've got Lamar Jackson on one side, and then another one. Trey mentioned this before, an MVP candidate who should be mentioned in that conversation, and has picked up a lot of steam in the last few weeks, is Dak Prescott. What in your mind has changed about that situation, if anything, or are we just starting to notice?
Yeah, on my official Golic and Wingo research notes here,
he's holding up, for those not watching, he's holding up a napkin that he's written notes on.
A regular J.K. Rowling over
the
there.
official Golic and Wingo napkin here. It says right here, Mike, that he's currently 67% with 21 touchdowns and only 9 interceptions, which is good. However, we'll get to Russell Wilson in a second. What I love about Dak Prescott is, again, he's somebody else that has been productive since he's had a chance to start, and we've talked about this. It is amazing how the Dallas Cowboys have not locked him up. He, to me, we talked about this in the offseason, he is high character. He has proven to be durable. He has proven that he can win not only running the ball, but throwing the ball. And ever since they've got Amari Cooper, that offense has changed dramatically, much more so, in my opinion, than just Zeke. And I'm glad they have Zeke under contract, but to me, Dak Prescott is the difference maker on that team.
And Amari's going to get paid too.
Yeah.
100%.
By somebody. I mean, he's like, I'm good. I'm making $15 million this year.
It's all going to work out.
I'll get a giant check from somebody. Yeah. But to your point, they paid Zeke, and this was our great researcher, Gordo here, our adopted nephew, with a great nugget. Second straight game under 50 rushing yards. Last time that happened was a sophomore season at Ohio State. It is so clear, Mike. There's too many mics in here. Yeah. It is so clear, Michael Tannenbaum, that this offense is going through Dak now, not through Zeke, yet they paid Zeke, and they still haven't paid Dak.
No, that's right. And they paid some others, too, like Lyle Collins. Again, good football players, great problems to have, but I know how hard I've tried it for over 20 years to acquire talented, young, productive, durable, high-character quarterbacks. And when you're fortunate to have one in your building, they never can leave. And right now, what the Dallas Cowboys have done, they've given Dak Prescott a blank check because he can never leave. And you could say, well, we could franchise him, but the leverage a starting quarterback has, unlike all the other position players, is when he doesn't show up for the OTAs, minicamp, training camp, it's really hard to function offensively when your starting quarterback's not there.
All right, just about a minute to go here. Mitch Trubisky, what do you do the rest of this season and in the offseason?
Yeah, I park him because you have a champion. Right now, you park him because you can't win with him. You're the ultimate audience, your locker room as a former player, Mike, you know, the defense sees it, everyone sees it. And then the offseason, maybe I trade him to Sean McVay of the Rams, maybe Kyle Shanahan, and he beats out C.J. Beathard as the backup, and maybe he could resurrect his career. But in a big market like that, when it goes south, you really need a change of scenery to hopefully rejuvenate your career.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Chicago Bears on a lot of fronts. It's always interesting to have Mike Tannenbaum with us in studio. We appreciate it.
Thanks for the official letterhead. I appreciate it. Thank you.
J.K. Rowling made a lot of money that way. I'm just saying, hold on to that thing.
Here, I got some extra napkins for you.
That'll be for next week's segment.
Next week, we've got him next. Coming up, a king that may actually be washed. We'll get to that next. And what does that mean for the franchise he plays for? Golic and Wingo head into ESPN News on the television side. But as always, we'll be with you here on ESPN Radio. Big trust. Wow. What?